The climbs of La Flèche Wallonne and Liège-Bastogne-Liège are part of cycling's rich history. I'm going to take you through the toughest climbs of these two legendary races, 1 minute per climb. Côte de Cherave is no easy test. Recently added to the Flèche Wallonne route, it comes just before the Mur de Huy. The bottom section ramps up brutally. It's more regular and slightly easier than the Mur, but still demanding. The steepest ramps hit 14%, and you really have to fight to keep your momentum. With a 500-meter stretch averaging over 11%, it's a real leg burner. For amateur riders, traffic adds another layer of difficulty. The descent toward Ardennes is fast and technical. There's no need to introduce the Mur de Huy, one of the most iconic climbs in the Ardennes. Known as the Chemin de Chapelle, you'll pass 6 or 7 chapels along the roadside. The final 800 meters are brutal, averaging close to 13%. The road surface isn't great either. Potholes and patchwork tarmac make it even harder. The Claudie Krikelian corner, named after the 1985 winner when the Mur was first introduced, is the steepest point, 19% with 26% on the inside line. After that corner, things get even worse. Your legs are already screaming, yet the gradient stays above 10%. It may not be Belgium's hardest climb in isolation, but after 200 kilometers of racing, it's absolutely savage. Côte de Saint-Roch is the first categorized climb in Liège-Bastogne-Liège on the way out before the turnaround in Bastogne. It rarely makes a difference because it comes too early. But the opening section in Haussire is a real wall. The first 500 meters average 14%, with a short ramp at 17%. The roadside atmosphere is fantastic, with crowds and flags everywhere, one of the best photo spots in the race. The Col de Haussire is actually one of the hardest climbs in the region, though not via the side used in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Even so, the race version is tough, nearly 4 kilometers long, with the final 1.4 kilometers averaging 10%. Because of its length, it feels more like a Vosges climb. It runs mostly through forest, which is pleasant, if you can ignore the gradient. Being far from the finish, it rarely has a decisive impact. Riders in the Velomedian Sportive know it well. It's the kind of climb only pros can tackle without serious suffering. Stockeu is arguably the hardest climb in Liège-Bastogne-Liège in pure terms. It's the perfect example of a cycling wall. 1.1 kilometers at 12.5% average, with no respite until the final 100 meters. The steepest section hits 21%, and even pro riders sometimes zigzag here. It's impossible to accelerate or find a rhythm. Because it comes relatively early, it's not decisive, but it's part of a legendary trilogy, Côte de Wallonne, Stockeu, and Haute-Levée. This sequence can crush any amateur rider. At the summit stands a monument to Eddy Merckx. The race turns left, but if you go right, the climb continues for another 1.2 kilometers at 8%. La Redoute is the most iconic climb of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. It has become decisive again thanks to riders like Remco Evenepoel and Tadej Pogačar, even though it's still over 30 kilometers from the finish. It starts in Remouchamp, home of Philippe Gilbert. The first section, alongside the motorway, is manageable, about 1 kilometer at just over 8%. But after the left-hand bend, it turns into a series of steep ramps and short flats, including 600 meters at over 12%. The second ramp is the hardest, with a gradient that builds up to a short 20% section. Conquering La Redoute isn't easy, but it's a must for anyone chasing cycling's most legendary roads. La Roche aux Faucons was introduced about 15 years ago and quickly became a decisive climb. That's changed a bit in recent years, as Pogačar and Evenepoel now tend to attack earlier on La Redoute. Still, it remains a very tough climb, especially because it comes late in the race. It's now the final climb, after the removal of Saint-Nicolas and the Côte d'Ance. It's not the steepest in the Ardennes, but it's very irregular, with ramps up to 15% and brief flatter sections. After 250 kilometers of racing, it really hurts. And what hurts even more is the long false flat that follows. It has already cracked many riders fighting for victory or podium spots. There are so many tough climbs in Liège-Bastogne-Liège and La Flèche Wallonne that I had to leave some out. The Amstel Gold Race also has plenty of difficult climbs, though they're not in the Ardennes. I hope you enjoyed this overview. Let me know in the comments which Ardennes climbs are your favorites, and feel free to follow. More videos about cycling's legendary locations are coming soon.